Hello beautiful creative friends, it's Belinda and I'm back with another Traveler's Notebook spread process to share with you. I am documenting a story of a family movie night that we had for my birthday at the start of this year, where I introduced my kids and my husband to the magnificence that is Labyrinth and David Bowie in Labyrinth. If you are like my husband and you have never seen this movie before, please go and watch it. It is iconic. What I'm showing you now is how I am getting my journaling onto this pre-printed journaling card. Now, I think this journaling card came from Elle's Studio. I've got a stack of them. They're all exactly the same. But I wanted to have my journaling nice and even on it. So I measured out the distance between all the lines. I set it up in Photoshop. I printed it onto a piece of just plain white copy paper. And then I used that little light... a light board to see through, and then adhere the journaling card back over the top, aligned to the journaling that was printed, stuck some washi tape on it, and then ran it back through my printer again. And as you can see, it prints perfectly. So that's a really handy way of getting some journaling printed onto existing journal cards if you need to do that. You don't have to use a light board. You can also just hold it up to the window with some sunlight if you have that, or up to a light. So I've started building the base of this spread. I'm using a Felicity Jane collection. I have a lovely hoarded stash of Felicity Jane products, and I'm very, very sad that they are no longer available. I just showed you there what I've used to create the little secondary part of my title. I have this amazing stamp set from the Stamp Market. They've got a couple of different versions of this. It creates a tiled alpha. So you stamp with the solid stamp, and then it comes with a coordinating die that cuts them out into tiled alphas. And I do love a good tiled alpha. So I love that I can use this in any color, the ink that I have, and I can make it work with whatever products I'm using. This page was going to be quite busy, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to fit that journaling card on with the photo of our living area or our home theatre and the movie poster over onto the right. So I wanted to hide the journaling, and this is the reason why I actually reached for this Felicity Jane collection, because I knew that it had these beautiful vellum pockets. So I've adhered my photo down onto the front of that vellum pocket, and then I'm going to just slip that journaling card inside the pocket there, and that's a really great way of keeping that hidden. I went and grabbed one of my Copic markers in a coordinating color, and I'm just using it to color in those stars and give this a 5-star rating. That was the one thing that I just couldn't do on my printer. So it's easy enough for me to grab that Copic marker and color those in. Now, once I stuck my journaling card in, I realized that it was going to sink too far down into the pocket, and I wanted it to pop up above the pocket so that it was easy to see. So all I've done is I've just taken the photo off, used my pencil to draw a line where I wanted the card to sit, and then just ran a line of stitching on my sewing machine. That stitching is hidden behind the journal card, so you can't see it anyway, but what it does is it shortens that pocket so that the journal card now sits poking out from the top of the vellum pocket, and it's really obvious and easy to pull out. This family title piece came from the Felicity Jane collection. There was some really pretty gold foil scripty titles. Now I go to stick the dot of the eye on, and it popped out of my tweezers and disappeared somewhere behind my desk, so I had to go back to that little set and trim down a piece that I knew that I wasn't going to use to make a new little eye. And what I'm showing you here is my little trick for getting these alphas adhered down, because they're not sticky, they don't have any adhesive on the back of them, and I want them to be lined up really nicely. I line them up using the grid on my mat, apply a piece of washi tape over the top of them to pick them up, then add a dot of wet adhesive behind each one and adhere them down where I need them to. I leave the washi tape on for a little while until the adhesive, I know that it's had time to stick, and then I just really carefully peel that washi tape back off, and I have perfectly straight and perfectly spaced alphas there. So I've got this collection came with these really pretty vellum hearts, and I know that I want to add a couple of them. So I spare you the the pain of watching me go through and trying to decide which ones I want to use. And spoiler, the ones that I chose to use aren't actually the ones that I end up using, but I saved you that pain, and you'll see me adhering those down in just a little while. So for now, I'm ready to do some stamping. I love that I'm getting to use my stamps in these traveler's notebooks. I don't use them a lot in my normal scrapbooking. I don't even really use a lot of them in my December daily, or I haven't up until this point. But these traveler's notebooks are really giving me the perfect reason to bust out all of my stamps, and I do have a lot. So I just showed you there, I'd pulled 3 different stamps out for this spread. I had the stamp set that came with the Felicity Jane kit. I also had 2 label stamp sets that are from Elle Studio. I absolutely love these label stamp sets. I love how versatile they are. I love the different designs on the different labels. And I love that they come with a coordinating die, and I'm going to use that to trim out that Loved This Day. I also wanted to use in this Felicity Jane stamp set, there was this really pretty foliage stamp. So it's quite simple. It's like a line drawn leaves. So I've stamped a few of those using just my black ink. I've stamped a few of those, my VersaFine ink, and then I will fussy cut those off camera in a little while. But here I'm coming in first of all with that coordinating die. When I stamped the words Love This Day onto the label that I had already stamped in the Distress Oxide, it didn't quite stamp the way that I would like it to. I wasn't happy with it. So it's easy enough for me. You can see just off to the left there, I've re-stamped them onto a piece of plain white cardstock. And once I have die cut this label out with my cute little Sizzix Sidekick, I will then trim down one of those Love This Day stamped pieces and adhere it over the top. And it looks just fine. It also adds another layer, which I try to keep these traveler's notebook spreads pretty flat for very obvious reasons. So adding extra paper layers is really helpful at giving some visual interest and adding a little bit of dimension and texture to the layouts without adding loads of bulk. So adhered that down over the top. It looks great. It kind of looks like it was meant to be like that the whole time. And so now I've gone and I've fussy cut those little leaves. They are so cute. And I'm planning on using them in a couple of different places around the layout. For now, I'm going to get these vellum hearts adhered down. So I knew that I wanted to layer 2 of them together. And when I was going through them, I was having a look for complementary patterns, because there are some that are plain, just plain colors. There are some that have got polka dots and stripes. There were a couple that had florals. So I was looking for patterns that complemented each other without clashing. I'm just adding a tiny bit of wet adhesive through the middle of each of these hearts, and then I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine. And you're going to see that now. I'm bringing it back. I'm going to show you a little close up. I've just added some really messy backwards and forwards stitching to the middle of each of those little heart layers. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to rough up each of the hearts and just give a tiny bit more texture to those. Now I'm ready to adhere that what is it called, movie poster down. So the left hand page is pretty solidly adhered. The one on the right I'm still working on. I have in the collection, they had these little rubber charms. This one here says home. I'm a little bit iffy when it comes to rubber on my projects, because I know that they have a tendency to react to lots of different adhesives, and they can go and really ruin your projects. But I do have a red line tape, and everything and everyone tells me that that red line tape is okay for adhering rubber down. So I guess time will tell, but that is what I end up adhering that little home piece down with. I have added some twine through the tag, so it is a little tag. And now I'm going to do just a little bit more stamping to finish out that page on the right there. I've got this scripty love word, which came from the stamp set, the Felicity Jane stamp set. I don't know if I've mentioned, I think this is the Rebecca kit that I'm using. I just grabbed an offcut of the pink pattern paper. It's the same pattern paper that I've used to back the photo of the movie title. It's just the opposite side. So one of the things that came in all the Felicity Jane kits is that there was some coordinating just plain coloured paper And on this particular one, both sides were pink. One was just a darker pink and one was a lighter pink. So I've used the lighter side. I have stamped that word love a few times until I got something that I was happy with. And then that is going to go on that page, but I'm jumping around a bit. And now I've got that red line tape going behind the tag, and I'm just going to adhere that to the bottom left of the photo. The photo that I took, it's pretty dark. I took it in black and printed it in black and white because I knew that it wasn't going to coordinate with the products or with the photo from the movie poster. There's actually no one in the photo at this point. The kids were both sitting up on our laps, but it was just a little snapshot of their teddy bears on the ground and the movie in the background, and just shows a little snapshot of our home. So I did adhere that tag to the top right of the photo, and then I've used one of the mini wide paper clips that came from Felicity Jane just to add a little bit of something extra to that tag there up the top. I tucked one of the florals behind the home tag on the left hand side, and I knew that I wanted to recreate the same effect behind this little love piece here on the right hand side. Played around with it a little bit. It just didn't look, I couldn't get it to look quite right. So I think I start to adhere it down, and then I'm going to come back and pull it up. And then what I did was I cut that piece down a little bit, and so that it tucked behind that love word completely. Now I'm going to adhere, I wanted to keep the twine tail. I wanted to keep that nice and long, but I also wanted to add a little loop or a couple of little loops. So I couldn't do the second loop. My fingers are too fiddly, but I just used my little tiny attacher. Well, it's not the tiny attacher, it's a different version of it, to staple that little loop in place. And now I'm going to finish with these beautiful soft gold Nuvo drops. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd love for you to go ahead and leave me a comment or give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me on my paper crafting adventures. I will leave you here with these close-up photos and say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.